Good morning, children. So you are welcome to the presentation of this lesson number 4. The name of the lesson is Albert Einstein at School. So this is an important chapter of Snapshot, and we'll get to know about Albert Einstein in this lesson. So my dear children, so why we read the life, why we read the life story of the great people? So why? Because we wanted to get the inspiration. We wanted to get the inspiration, and because of this inspiration, motivation, because of this encouragement, so we read the book so that the life of the great people inspire us, motivate us in order to become successful. Therefore, in this particular lesson, as you know, Albert Einstein is a so famous, a particular scientist, so famous, a physicist, that you are very much curious to know about his schooling. And in this lesson, we'll get to know about schooling. We'll get to know about what happened with him, what is the general opinion of the teacher on Albert Einstein, what was the attitude of some of the teacher, and how did he get the reference. Everything will come to know in this chapter. Therefore, let us go. Let us continue. There we go. So my dear children, so we'll be going through line by line. We'll see the meaning of the lesson. We'll see and appreciate Albert Einstein at school. So let us continue. Albert Einstein, who was born in the year 1879, is regarded as the greatest physicist since Newton. So Newton was born in the year 1643 and died in the year 1727, Newton. And after Newton, so if we tell any great name of the scientist, it is Albert Einstein. And Patrick Pringle was the biographer. So who is the biographer? Biographer is a particular person who writes the biography, the biography of great people in the history. Patrick Pringle, who was born in the year 1935, was very much interested in Albert Einstein, who later on became the citizen of America, and he write about the biography. And this lesson is an extract. This lesson is taken from, or this is quoted from, or taken from the Young Einstein, which is the biography of Albert Einstein. And here we will get to know, this is a particular part, and from here we will get to know about the young scientist. So his maturity level, his attitude toward education, his attitude towards life, everything will come to know from this lesson. The well-known biographer Patrick Pringle described the circumstances which led to Albert Einstein's expulsion from German school. So dear children, so here we see we are talking about a particular city that is called Munich. And in this city, Albert Einstein was taking his diploma. So he got admitted in order to take his diploma. But what happened, life was not so rosy. It was very miserable, and an incident happened. That incident was so crucial. The incident was so vital, because this incident led him to the expel. Okay, so he got the expulsion, means he was expelled from the school. Therefore, let us continue now. So to start with, we will find a school. We will find the teacher. The teacher is the history teacher. The name of the teacher is Mr. Brown, and Mr. Brown asked the question to Albert Einstein, and Albert Einstein, so he is not very much serious about some of the subjects. He takes it very casually because his attitude is so. So what is that? Let us go. Let us continue now. So my dear children, so this is the dialogue now. the lesson started in a dramatical manner. So this is the dialogue. These are the dialogue between whom? This is the dialogue between Mr. Brown. Okay, Mr. Brown, B-R-A-U-N, Mr. Brown and Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein. So this from this dialogue we will come to understand about the attitude of the teacher and attitude of the taught. That is Albert Einstein. Let us continue. In what year Einstein asked the history teacher did the Prussian defeat the French at Waterloo? So you have heard of the Battle of Waterloo. It occurred in the year 1815. So it was the history class and the teacher asked him the data. The question was asked as to what was the year in which Battle of Waterloo occurred, in which the Prussian defeat the French. Then let us see what is the answer. I do not know, sir. Why don't you know? You have been told it often enough. I must have forgotten. Did you ever try to learn? Asked Mr. Brown. No, sir, Albert replied with his usual unthinking honesty. Therefore, so you will understand that Albert was very much honest, and whatever he spoke, he was very much spontaneous. Okay, he was very much spontaneous. Spontaneous means he told it in a very natural manner. So what he told? So he was asked. So do you know the date? Then he said, no, sir, I might have forgotten. No, you are supposed to remember it. Then he told that, sir, I did not learn it. So why you did not learn it? Then he will tell something very, very special. So he says, I cannot see any point in learning dates. One can always learn them up in book. So he is telling that I do not actually learn the date, and I am not interested in them, because I do not see any point in learning. I do not see any logic behind learning the date. So one can just simply refer a book, see a book for any date that happened in the history. Therefore, see the reaction of the teacher. Mr. Brown was speechless for a moment. So he was dumbstruck. He was D-U-M-B, dumb, S-T-R-U-C-K. Dumbstruck means he could not tell anything. He could not tell anything. You amaze me, Einstein. He said at last, don't you realize that one can always look most things up in books? That applies to all the facts you learn at school. So for the time being, he became very much speechless or dumbstruck. So he told that, do not realize that for any reference, for any date, for any data, one refers to the book. That particularly applies to all the fact. We learn the fact from the book only. We learn the data from the book. Yes, sir. Then I suppose you don't see any point in learning fact. Frankly, sir, I don't, said Albert. So Albert said that I do not see any point in learning fact. Fact is not so important according to Albert. Then you don't believe in the education at all. Then the history teacher was telling, so do not believe that education is important. Then, oh yes, sir, I do. I don't think learning fact is education. So Albert Einstein, when he was asked about the question, do not believe in education at all, or do not believe that education is important? Then Albert said, sir, I believe that education is very crucial, very important. But according to me, learning the fact is not education. I do not think learning fact is education. केवल fact को learn करना, fact को memorize करना, fact को rotting करना, that is not the education at all. That means Albert Einstein did not believe in rote learning. Okay, उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? उसको बोलते हैं rote learning. Rote learning means memorizing the data or the fact from the book, that is not important according to the Albert Einstein. Let us continue. In that case, say to the history teacher with a heavy sarcasm, perhaps you will be so kind as to tell the class the Einstein theory of education. Now, the teacher was using his irony. So, do you know what is the sarcasm? Sarcasm means irony. Irony means what? Mockery. है ना? कटाक्ष करना. कटाक्ष. M-O-C-K-E-R-Y. Mockery. Means, so in an ironical tone the teacher asks, then why if you feel that learning the fact or the data is not education, then would you be kind enough to tell the class what is your theory of education? Albert Einstein theory of education, if you tell the class, then it will be great service. Then you see, when the teacher asks this question, what may be the reaction? Albert Einstein flushed. So means he become reddened. He got reddened. Means he got very much ashamed. He got very much ashamed. I think it is not the fact that matter, but ideas, he said. I don't see the point in learning the dates of battle or even which of the armies killed more men. I would be more interested in learning why the soldiers are trying to kill each other. Now see, so young a person, but so innovative an idea. In this lesson, my dear children, the writer actually gives the theme. So that the theme is the modern approach to education. What is the modern approach to education? Modern approach to education is innovation. What is that? Innovation. Innovation, not mugging up or not memorizing, not rote learning. So this particular fact is expressed here. So you see, when the teacher was having the argument with Albert, then Albert said, sir, I think it is not the fact that is important, but the ideas. So it is not the fact which are important, but what is important is the idea. So suppose a war started, and into the war, how many people were killed by other party? That is not more important. What is more important? Why people were getting themselves killed? Why the people were fighting? That is more important than the number of people killed into the battle. Then let us see. So what is the reaction of the teacher? Will the teacher be very much attentive to what Albert was telling? So let us see. That's enough. Mr. Brown's eyes were cold and cruel. We do not want a lecture from you, Einstein. You will stay in for an extra period today, although I do not imagine it will do you much good. It will not do the school any good either. You are a disgrace. I do not know why you continue to come. So now see. So what is the reaction of the teacher? So the teacher was very much angry. Okay, the teacher become very much angry. He become reddened. He become very cold or cruel. Then he was telling that, so after the school, you will stay back. You will be staying back. Means it is a kind of punishment. Because you had the argument with the teacher. Again he was telling that when you are staying back also, I do not think that it will do any benefit either to you or to the school. Even then, you will have to stay back. And finally, he told her that, so I suppose you are a disgrace. You are a disgrace for your family and for the school. And I do not see any point. Why do you continue to come to school? Because as you are not interested to learn the fact or the ideas, learn the fact or the data, then there is no point in coming to the school. So that is the opinion of the teacher. Then you see, so the argument continues with the teacher, and then what Albert says, let us see. It is not my wish, sir, Albert. pointed out. So here we notice Albert is a very much frank, F-R-A-N-K, frank. Albert is a very much candid or frank. He is also very natural while he is talking. He is talking in a very natural manner. So he was telling the truth. He was not hiding anything. So he was telling, sir, I was actually not interested to come to this school in order to get the diploma, but my parents actually forced me, and it is because of my parents that I am coming here. Then you are an ungrateful boy and ought to be ashamed of yourself. The teacher said that if you are coming only for your parents' stress or insistence, then you are a very ungrateful boy and you should be ashamed of yourself. I suggest you ask your father to take you off or out. Therefore, the teacher, Miss Brown, was telling that, may I suggest you that you will be consulting the matter with your father and you will be going out to the school. Now let us see what will be the condition of Albert after this particular incident. So, will Albert be very happy or will he feel like a hero after the class, or will he be miserable? Let us see. Albert felt miserable when he left school that afternoon. Not that it had been a bad day. Most days were bad now anyway, but because he had to go back to the hateful place the next morning. So the school was over. He felt very miserable. He felt very unhappy. Why he felt very unhappy? Because he had the tussle, T-U-S-S-L-E. He had the tussle with what? With the teacher. And because of that he felt very miserable, very unhappy. And more particularly, to add to his unhappiness or to add to his misery, what exactly happened? So to add to his misery, so he felt that he had to come back to the hateful place the next morning too. That was more miserable. He only wished his father would take him away, but there was no point in even asking. He knew what the answer would be. He would have to stay until he had taken his diploma. So now, so what was the dilemma? What was the dilemma into the mind of Albert Einstein? So he cannot tell it to the father because he knew the answer, the ready-made answer of the father. The father will tell that you will have to complete the diploma, and after the completion of the diploma, you can come out of the school, no problem. So he knew it, and therefore telling the thing to the parent also will not be fruitful. Then let us see how miserable the life is. So the life in the school was miserable. Life in the lodging was miserable. So there was slum violence. He could not afford the beautiful lodging. Therefore, his life was very, very, very miserable. Going back to his lodging, did not cheering up. So when you are unhappy, if you go to your lodging is the temporary arrangement, temporary accommodation. Okay? Temporary arrangement or temporary accommodation. Accommodation. So this temporary accommodation was made where? In the slum area. In the slum area, what exactly happened? In the slum area, you will see always there is violence and violence. So that was the problem. Therefore, his mind will not be happy after going to his lodging. Also, his father had so little money to spare that Albert had been found a room in one of the poorest quarters of Nice. So his father could not afford much money. He could only spare little money to have a lodging for our young Albert in one of the poorest quarters of the place in Nice. He did not mind the bad food and the lack of comfort or even the dirt and the squalor, but he hated the atmosphere of the same slum violence. So after going to his lodging, generally speaking, he did not mind if the food also is bad in quality, if the comfort also is lacking, he doesn't mind it. But the dirt and the filth, the extreme dirty condition or the squalor, the filth, F-I-L-T-H, filth, and more particularly the slum violence, that people always be indulging in violence, they will be angry and making quarrel and other. This is very common feature in the slum area, and that made him more unhappy. His landlady beat her children regularly, and every Saturday her husband came drunk with her. Now see, tit for tat. So his landlady, so she had the habit of beating the children very regularly, and on Saturday particularly, maybe the husband was working somewhere in the city. So he used to come on Saturday, and he would be coming drunk and beat the landlady very badly, and in this way the violence continues to add to the misery of Albert Einstein. Now let us see. So he is talking, or he is having a discussion with his friend. So he had a friend named Yuri in Munich. So he shared this particular problem with Yuri. Then what Yuri does. So both of them make the comparison of their travel life. So let us see. But at least you have a room of your own, which is more than I can see, said Yuri when he called round in the evening. So so it was Albert who went in the evening time. He went to the Yuri, and he was having a discussion with Yuri that he was having this problem in the quarters, the lodgings, and more particularly his life was very much troublesome in the school too. Then Yuri said that at least you have a room of your own, and many people are living in the street. Compared to those people, you are in a very comfortable position. At least you live among the civilized human being, even if they are all poor students, said Albert. Then Albert was telling that, now see, your condition is better. Why better? Because you are living in the midst of the civilized human being, and I, Albert Einstein, who live among the uncivilized people, and they always fight and quarrel. Can you see what Yuri tells? They are not all civilized. Yuri replied, did you not hear that one of them was killed last week in a duel? So, do you know what is this duel? Duel is a fight. Fight is a fought between whom? Fought between two people. So, what is the topic? So, to settle a point of honor. To settle a point of honor. So, Yuri was mentioning that. So, in the last week there was a duel between the two students, and one of them died in the duel. And what happened to the one who killed him? So naturally, Albert Einstein asked him the question: what happened to the other person who killed the victim? Nothing. Of course, he is even proud of it. His only worry is that the authorities have told him not to fight any more duel. Okay. Now see, so that the killer in the fight actually does not have any kind of regret or repentance. He only had a regret or worry that the authority in the school asked him not to fight any more duel. So why he is worried? Because in future he will not be able to fight any duel, and he will not have the mark on the face. The mark on the face will be a mark of honor. Now see, He's upset about this because he hasn't a single scar on his face to wear for the rest of his life as a badge of honor. Now see, this mark. So his only repentance or the regret is that he is not wearing any mark. Okay, any scar mark, any scar mark, any cut mark in his face. So he will not be able to get the scar mark in future also, and that is his only worry because this cut mark is equal to or cut mark is regarded as the badge of honor. Then let us see what is the reaction of Albert. Oh, exclaim Albert, and these are the students. Well, you will be a student one day, said Uri. So Albert actually did not like all this fight and quarrel, and this sort of violence by the student one was not at all accepted by him, and he was telling, oh, these are also students. What sort of student they are? Then you will say that you will also be a student one day when you stay here in Munich. Then let us continue. Next page number 27. I doubt it, said Albert glumly. Glumly means sadly. Glumly means very sadly. I do not think I will even pass the examination for the school diploma. So Albert said, when okay, when Uri tell that you will also be a student one day, then he was telling that no, there is no chance, and more particularly I cannot pass the examination also for the diploma. He told his cousin Elsa that the same next time she came to Munich. So his cousin was Elsa, and she was living in Berlin. And when the next time she came from Berlin to the Munich, then he shared the idea, and more particularly the trouble he was facing those days. Then what is the reaction? What is the reaction? Let us see. What is the reaction of Elsa? Normally she lived in Berlin where her father had a business. I'm sure you could learn enough to pass the examination, but if you tried, she said, I know lots of boys who are more stupid than you are, who get through. Now see. So what is the opinion? What is the opinion of Elsa? Elsa was telling that if you compare many other people who are more stupid than you, they also got through or they also passed the examination. Therefore, in order to pass the examination, what you need to do? You need to try. If you try, then you can get to the examination. It's not so difficult. They say you do not have to know anything. You do not have to understand what you were taught. Just be able to repeat it in the examination. So according to the Elsa, in order to pass the examination, you need not to know much more thing, or you need not understand also. No understanding, no appreciation, not learning the thing is needed. So these things are not needed in order to pass the examination. What you need to repeat? You need to repeat. You need to repeat in the examination what you have learned. Means you will have to remember, or you will have to write. Means rote learning was introduced there, and children only memorize the thing or mark the thing and reproduce them into the examination in order to pass the examination. Therefore, what is not given importance was the innovative ideas or the novel ideas that are not given any importance. Now let us see. That is the whole trouble, said Albert. I'm not good at learning things by heart. So Albert was telling that is the only problem I'm suffering from. I cannot remember, I cannot memorize the thing. I can understand. I know the application, and particularly many other subjects I am not interested in too. You do not need to be good at it. Anyone can learn like a parrot. You just don't try, and yet I always see you with the book under your arm. Elsa, what is the one you were reading? Now finally, Elsa was telling that, so you'll have to learn, you'll have to remember just like the parrot. So a particular parrot, right in the morning, if you are teaching him good morning, then he will be repeating the same. Okay, he will be repeating the same. Good morning. So in the similar manner, according to the Elsa, what you will have to do, you will have to repeat or reproduce what has been taught to you. You need to remember, you need to write, you need to learn by heart, you need to mark up. So this is all about the examination and passing the examination, and then finally Elsa was pointing out a particular book that was always under the arm of Albert Einstein. What is the one that you are reading? A book on geology. Geology, rocks and things. Do you learn that? No. We have hardly any science at school. Then why are you studying it? Now see. So as you know, geology is the science of the earth, rocks, structure of the earth, and our biographer Patrick Pringle also was a earth scientist. So he was a earth scientist. So he was a earth scientist. So he was a geologist. So these are the particular book that actually give a lot of interest in Albert Einstein, and because of that he read it as hobby. He read it as hobby because he liked it. But this sort of books of science were not there in the particular institution that he was studying. Then why are we studying it? See? Then why are we studying it? Then you see, because I like it. Isn't it that a good enough reason? Elsa sighed. Let us continue. You are right, of course, Albert, she said, but it won't help with your diploma. So finally, Elsa was telling that yes, of course, you can pursue with your hobby or aptitude. That is all right. You can study the book of the science, but the thing is that it will not help you in getting to the diploma that you have got admitted into. Apart from the books on science, his only comfort was music, and he played his violin regularly until his landlady asked him to stop. That wailing gets on my nerve, she said. There is enough noise in the house with all the kids are howling. Now see, in this part we can get to know about the hobby. So what is the hobby? Besides the books on science, what was the hobby of Albert Einstein? Albert Einstein's hobby was to play the violin continuously in order to lighten his heavy heart. What happened? So that the landlady will be frequently asking him to stop it, telling that the house is already very much noisy with the howling and particularly the crying of the kids in the house. Therefore, because of the landlady, he had to stop playing the violin, which he was very much interested in. Let us see the next. Albert was tempted to point out that most of the time it was she who made them howl, but he decided it was better to say nothing. I must get away from here, he told Yuri after 6 months alone in Munich. Now let us see, when this talk was going on, he had a kind of temptation, है ना? उनको एक टेम्पटेशन जैसा हुआ, मतलब क्या टेम्पटेशन हुआ कि वो मतलब बोलेंगे, लैंडलेडी को बोलेंगे कि जितना हाउलिंग होता है, जितना हल्ला चिल्ला होता है, इसका शुरुआत तो आप ही कर देते हैं, इसका शुरुआत करने वाला तो आप ही है ना? बट Albert was so wise. Albert was so wise and practical that he was a very practical. He was a very practical that it will not bring him any good luck, or it will not be beneficial to him, and therefore he stopped saying so. And finally, after 6 months, when he had talked with Yuri, his only friend in Venice, then he was telling that he must get away from this particular horrible place like hell. It is absurd that I should go on like this, and it will turn out that I have been wasting my father's money and everyone's time. Okay? Absurd means what? Not logical, not logical. Logical, not logical. Means irrelevant. Relevant nahi. Irrelevant. So it is like irrelevant, not logical. Okay? There is no logic behind my staying here. Okay? This is not practical approach. So he was telling that when I stay here without doing any good thing, then it is very much absurd for me just to continue here. So it will be better for me to go out from here, because I am simply spending my time and the money of my father just by staying here. Therefore, it is better for me to go away from here. It will be better for all if I stop now. Therefore, he was telling that it will be better for everybody. It will be better for me, my parents, the landlady, and the school too. For everybody, it will be better if I stop now. Stop continuing or pursuing my education here in MIMS. And then, what will you do? He asked. Now it is the future planning. So he was telling. So he will be telling about his future plan. I do not know if I go to Milan. I'm afraid that my father will send me back unless. So he was telling, he was a little apprehensive, little fearful. So he was telling that I cannot tell something very certainly, because if I go home, if I go to Milan, another city of German, where the parents are staying, and the father actually was an engineer, so he worked with the engine, he was an engineer, and more particularly they also had some beer factory, okay, the factory of the beer. So the father will be telling him that you continue with the education, you should not come back or return without having the diploma. His eyes gleamed with a sudden idea. Yuri, do you know any friendly doctors? So after this particular incident of the argument with the teacher, so his mind was totally broken. He wanted to go out from this place, and more particularly his place of residence also was very much horrible, or very much troublesome. Therefore, he finally decided to go away, but he could not find any way out. And finally, one idea struck his mind. S-T-R-U-C-K, struck. Okay, from strike, struck. Struck to the mind. All of a sudden, the idea gleamed. Gleam means shine. Okay, gleam means shine. Okay, he was shining. His eyes were shining only with one particular idea, and the idea was. So he's just simply planning some idea. So he was very intelligent, and therefore he was planning the idea, and he was telling Yuri, do you know any friendly doctors? So Yuri, आप क्या कोई friendly doctors को जानते हैं? एक डॉक्टर को जानते हैं जो मतलब friendly है? I know a lot of medicine students, and some of them are friendly. Say, Yuri, doctor? No, I've never had enough money to go to one. Why? Then Yuri was telling that there are a lot of new doctors who are simply out of the medical college. I know many of them are my friends. So they are new doctor, very new doctor. I know many of them, but to the professional doctor I did not visit because I did not have money. But the question arises, why are asking this question? Suppose, said Albert, that I had a nervous breakdown. Suppose a doctor would say it is bad for me to go to school and I need to go right away from it. So he was telling that. So why I'm searching for the doctor? So that the doctor will give the prescription telling that he is suffering from some mental disease, nervous breakdown. When there is nervous breakdown, means the person suffer from the mental disorder or mental disease, and for that what he needs the rest. When the doctor will give the reference or the certificate to this effect, then the school is bound to give him rest so that he can go home. So this is the planning that is made by. Now let us continue. I cannot imagine a doctor saying that, say to me, I must try, said Allah, to find a doctor who specializes in nerves. There are plenty of them. Yuri told him. He hesitated for a moment and then added rather reluctantly, I'll ask some of the students if they know one, if you like. So when Albert expresses his willingness in order to find a doctor who is a specialist in neurology or in the nerve, then Yuri was telling that yes, I will search one, even though he was not very much interested. He was very much hesitant, and then he told in a reluctant manner that I will ask some of the students if they know one, if you like. So if you want or if you like, then I'll be asking some of the students who are doing MBBS, I'll be asking them if they know any doctor who are specialist in neurology or in the nerve. Will you? Oh, thank you, Yuri. Albert, eyes were shining. Wait a moment. I haven't found one yet. But oh, you will. And if I do, I do not know if he will be willing to help you. He will, declared Albert. I am going to have a real nervous breakdown to make it easier for him. A love marriage. I've never seen you looking less nervous, remarked Yuri. A day or two at school will soon put that right. So now he was planning to have the nervous breakdown, and Yuri also told that I've never noticed you less nervous. Means you are now looking more nervous. And then to add to it, Albert also said that when I'll be going to the school 1 or 2 days, then I'll be more nervous. I'll be certainly suffering from the nervous disorder or nervous breakdown. Then it will be helpful for me to get the certificate from the doctor, and with that certificate I can get a rest from the school, or I can get a break from the school. Certainly he had lost his high spirit when Yuri saw him next. I cannot stand it any longer, he said. I really shall have a nervous breakdown that will satisfy any doctor. I cannot stand it any longer. So he was telling that he actually cannot stand, or he cannot tolerate, they cannot bear with this particular situation, this humiliating situation in the school and also in the lodging. And if it continues, then certainly he will have nervous breakdown. Keep it up, then said to Yuri, I have found a doctor for you. You have Albert's face lit up. Oh, good. When can I see him? So finally, after all this discussion, so Yuri told that he searched out a friend, searched out a doctor who is a specialist in the nerve, and then Albert was very much happy. His face light up, or his face become gleaming, and then he was asking the question. He was asking, when shall I have to meet him? Let us see. I have an appointment for you for tomorrow evening, said Yuri. Here is the address. He handed Albert a piece of paper. Dr. Ernstwell. So finally, the doctor was searched out. Name of the doctor was Ernstwell. ECG specialist in nervous travel asked Albert. Not exactly, Yuri admitted. As a matter of fact, he only qualified as a doctor last week. You may even be his first passion. You knew him as a student then. I have known Ernst for years. Yuri hesitated for a few moments. He is not a fool. He warned Albert. What do you mean? Don't try to pull the wool over his eyes. Means don't try to cheat him. Pull the wool over his eyes means do not try to cheat him. That's all. Be frank with him. But do not pretend you have forgot what you haven't. Not that you have deceived anyone. You added. You have the world's worst liar. Albert spent the next day wondering what to tell the doctor. When the time arrived for his appointment, he had breathed over it so much that he really was quite nervous. So he was just simply wondering and imagining what kind of engagement or appointment it will be, whether he will be successful in pretending or not. So when he was constantly thinking on this topic, he was really quite nervous. Then let us see the next part, page number 29. I don't really know how to describe my travel, Dr. Well. He began. Don't try, said the young doctor with a pretty smile. He has already given me a history of the case. So this is the encounter. This is the meeting of the doctor and the patient. The patient was Albert Einstein, and he was to start, but he told that he didn't know how to start, how to make the start. Therefore, the doctor, who was an intelligent doctor, was telling him that he should not try. He should not try. He should tell only. He should tell, because he already had the brief of the case. Brief of the case. He had the BRI, brief of the case, means he knew the brief history of the case. Oh, what did he say? Only that you want me to think you had a nervous breakdown, and say that you mustn't go back to the school. Oh dear, Albert's face fell. He shouldn't have told you that. Why not? Isn't it true then? Yes, that is the trouble now. You will say there is nothing wrong with me, and you will tell me to go back to school. Don't be too sure of that, said the doctor. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you are in a nervous state about that school. But I haven't told you anything about it, said Albert, wide-eyed. How can you know that? So just after the initial argument and the discussion, the doctor came to the conclusion that he was nervous about the school. His mind was nervous about the school. That means he is having the initial symptom or initial sign of the disease, nervous breakdown. Therefore, there is no harm to give him the certificate to the effect that he was suffering from nervous breakdown. Then let us continue. But I haven't told you anything about it, said Albert. Wide-eyed. How can you know that? Wide-eyed means very much surprised. Surprise. He got very much surprised. He told that I do not tell anything about nervous state. How can you know that? Because you wouldn't have come to see me about this if you hadn't been pretty close to a nervous breakdown. That's why. Now, said the doctor briskly, means quickly, if I certified that you have had a nervous breakdown and must stay away from the school for a while, what will you do? Now see, so this actually shows that he was not simply a professional doctor, he was also a good human being. So he was telling that yes, of course, I will be giving you the certificate that will allow you a break from the school. But the question arises, what about your life? what will happen to your life after you are out of the school? So will you not continue your education? Then he told, I will go to Italy, the fantastic city Italy, said Albert, to Milan, where my parents are, and what will you do there? I will try to get into an Italian college or institute. How can you without a diploma? I will ask my mathematics teacher to give me something about my work, and perhaps that will be enough. I've learned all the math that they teach at the school and a bit more, he added when Dr. Well looked doubtful. So now this is the discussion after he's getting the break from the school, what will be the future course of the action. Then Albert was telling that I'll be getting a particular reference from the math teacher. The math teacher will be giving the certificate, and they will be telling that the math teacher, Mr. Coach, will be telling that he had learned all the mathematics. Albert also said that he learned all the mathematics and he learned a bit more. But Dr. Well was not very much convinced. He was little doubtful. So with that particular certificate from the math teacher, will be getting admitted into the Italian college or institute and pursue or continue his education. That was the planning, the future planning of Albert. So let us continue. Well, it is up to you, he said. I doubt if it will come off, if it will be successful. But I can see you are not doing yourself or anyone else much good by staying here. How long would you like me to say you should stay out from the school? Would 6 months be alright? So finally the doctor agreed that yes, of course. There is no good or though there is no beneficial effect of your staying here. But the question arises, how long you will stay out from the school? How many months you need? Then let us see the doctor, what the doctor tell. This is very kind of you. It is nothing. I have only just stopped being a student myself. So I know how you feel. Here you are. Dr. Well handed him the certificate and the best of luck. You see now? So when you go to the text, you get to know the heart of the matter. So the doctor told that he is also a student, he is also a fresh student out of the medical college, and therefore he knows the pathos and the suffering of the student, and therefore no problem. So you can have the certificate, you get the certificate, he handed him the certificate, and then also with the best of luck. How much means how much money I will have to pay? Nothing. If you have anything to spare, invite Yuri to a meal. Now see, so that the doctor was not greedy. He was not greedy. He was a very sympathetic and very kind doctor, and he knew that Albert might not have any money, therefore he charged nothing. He is a good friend of mine and yours too, I think. Therefore the doctor proposed that if you spare any money, then you can call me along with Yuri in a mill. Albert had no money to spare, but he pretended he had and took Yuri out to the supper. Albert did not have the money, but he pretended as if he had the money, and then took Yuri to supper or the dinner. Page number 30. Page number 30. Isn't it wonderful, he said after showing Yuri the certificate. Yes, it's fine, Yuri agreed. 6 months is a good period. This way you won't actually be leaving the school. So if the worst comes to the worst, you will be able to come back and carry on for your diploma. Therefore, So both of them were happy because the 6 months time was given, and the 6 months time will be will be enough or sufficient to manage his travel. And if anything good doesn't happen, then he can come back to the school once again. I will never go back to that place, Albert assured him. I am going to take this certificate to the head teacher tomorrow, and that will be the end of it. So he was very much clear about his plan. He was telling that no, I will never go to the school once again. My plan is very clear. So he was telling that I will be taking this certificate to the head teacher, and then that will be the end of my learning. That will be the end of my studying here in the school. Don't forget to get a reference and writing from your mathematics teacher first. Yuri reminded him. Yuri, as a better friend, reminded him that he should not forget about a kind of reference or a certificate getting from the mathematics teacher, Mr. Coach. Mr. Coach willingly gave Alberto the reference he wanted. If I say I cannot teach you any more, and probably you will soon be able to teach me, will that be right? He asked. So this is the kind of the reference, glowing reference he wanted to give. That is saying too much, sir, said Albert. It is only the truth, but alright, I'll put it in more seriously. So the teacher wanted to give this sort of reference because he was very much a good or expert in mathematics. So the teacher himself admitted to that he learned all the mathematics. They taught him in the school, and he learned a little more. And the teacher was himself very frankly telling that he is not capable of teaching him more. It was still a glowing reference, and Mr. Coase made the point that Albert was ready immediately to enter a college or institute for the study of higher mathematics. So the reference of the certificate was given by the math teacher, Mr. Coase, and this reference will be very much useful for Albert to get himself admitted in an institute for studying the higher mathematics there, because he was very much expert or advanced in mathematics. Then let us go. What did the teacher tell? Let us see. I'm sorry you are leaving us, although you are wasting your time in my class. He said, it is almost the only class where I'm not wasting my time, said Albert. But how did you know I'm leaving, sir? You wouldn't have asked me for this reference otherwise. I thought you'd wonder. So the mathematics teacher was asking and telling Albert that he felt sorry that he is leaving the school. Then Albert was asking, sir, how can you know that I am leaving the school? Then the teacher was telling that this reference or the certificate that you are asking or seeking, that actually is the testimony or the proof that you are leaving the school. There is nothing to wonder about Einstein. I knew you are going to live before you knew yourself. So the teacher, Mr. Coach, was telling that Albert Einstein was living the place before discovering himself, before knowing himself. Albert was puzzled. What did the teacher mean? The teacher understood Albert very well. Therefore, he made this remark that before knowing himself, he is living the place. He soon found out, before he had a chance to ask for an interview with the head teacher, he was summoned to the head's room. Well, it serves me that the trouble of having to wait an hour or two outside, he thought. He hardly bothered to wonder why he had been sent for, but vaguely supposed he was to be punished again for bad work or laziness. So well, he had to finish with punishment. So finally, he was called into the room of the head teacher. He supposed that he will be punished for the laziness and the bad work, because this is the usual activity. Now this day was little exception. The teacher was telling that he is not going to punish him. I'm not going to punish you. The head teacher said to the Albert, surprise, your work is terrible and I'm not prepared to have you here any longer. Einstein, I want you to leave the school now. So that is this particular incident to occur because of the report made by the teacher, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown reported to the head teacher, and because of this report, the head teacher was very unhappy and give him the warning that he will have to go away from the school because no learning takes place in his presence. Let us see the next. Leave school now, repeated Albert. That is what I said. You mean, said Albert, that I am to be expelled? Now see, when the teacher said that he had to leave the school, then Albert was in reality, he was happy from the core of his heart. So he could not believe. Sir, do you mean what you tell? That means, am I expelled? So that is the question of Albert. Now let us see what follows. You can take it that way if you wish, Einstein, that the head teacher was not mincing word. Not mincing word. He was not mincing word means he was speaking vaguely. He was speaking vaguely, vaguely. Means in an indirect manner, indirectly. He was speaking indirectly. The simplest thing will be for you to go off your own accord and then the question will not arise. So that the head teacher was telling that I do not exactly refer the word expulsion. I simply mean it. Therefore, the simplest thing for you to do, go of your own accord or at your own will. If you do not go, then will be compelled to give you the expulsion certificate. Now see, Albert Einstein was very much indeed. He was very much frank and free. Therefore, he asked the question to the head teacher, sir, may I know what is the fault or the crime that I have committed? But said Albert, what crime have I committed, sir? Your presence in the classroom makes it impossible for the teacher to teach and for the other people to learn. So the crime that is committed by Albert, according to the head teacher, was that his presence in the classroom is enough to spoil the educational atmosphere in the classroom because it makes everybody impossible to learn and to the teacher to teach. You refuse to learn, you are in a constant rebellion and no serious work can be done while you are here. Now see, so you are a rebel. You are a rebel. Means you are always protesting. You are not willing to learn. You refuse or you deny to learn. And because of this, the atmosphere, educational atmosphere spoiled. Okay. Therefore you need to go. Albert failed the medical certificate, almost burning a hole in his pocket. So you know the condition that he was supposed to produce the certificate in order to get the break, but before that he got the break because he was having an agreement with the head teacher to leave the school. I was going to leave anyway, he said. So he told the head teacher that yes, I am going away anyway. Then we are in agreement at least. So the headmaster said that yes, we are in agreement that you are going and we are also not issuing the expulsion certificate. For a moment, Albert was tempted to tell the man what he thought of him and his school. Then he stopped himself. Now see, once again there is a kind of temptation in the mind of Albert to tell his own opinion about the school and the head teacher. But as a mature boy, he resisted himself, he controlled himself, he did not tell anything. Without another word, holding his head high, he stepped out. Shut the door after you, shouted the head teacher. So, without exchanging any word, so he held the head high, okay, and then he came out in a very proud manner. He stalked out means walking in a proud manner, okay. He proudly went out of the school. The head teacher said, "Shut the door after you," but he did not do. He simply ignored the order. Albert ignored. He walked straight on out of the school where he had spent 5 miserable years, without turning his head to give it a last look. Now see, so his reaction to the school was so miserable that the place where he spent last 5 years, he did not have the mind to look at the school for the last time also. He hated the school. He simply hated the school, and therefore he did not have the last glance to the school also. He could not think of anyone he wanted to say goodbye to. So there was not a soul to whom he can say goodbye, because he did not like anybody in that particular school. Indeed, Yuri was almost the only person in Venice he felt like seeing before he left the town. He had to come to the head almost as much as the school. So there is a one place in the heart of Albert for Yuri, because he was the only friend. And before leaving, he had thought of seeing Yuri for the last time before leaving the school. Elsa was back in Berlin and he had no other real friend. So Elsa went back to the Berlin from where she came, and there was no other friend. Only friend was Yuri, whom he will be telling goodbye. Goodbye and good luck, said Yuri when he left. You are going to do a wonderful country, I think. I hope you will be happier there. So Yuri was a good friend of Albert, and when they were departing from each other, so just like a good friend, Yuri also wished that your life will be happier there in the wonderful city of Italy. So just wishing goodbye, both of them depart. So this is the end of the lesson, my dear children. So I suppose you understood the lesson well, and so you can write the word meaning, and you can also write the question and answer from the comprehension question check. So here, I'll be discussing only the second question. I'll giving the passing reference to the second question. The school system often curb individual talent. Discuss. So this question is a very innovative question, and this is related to the theme also. So the writer here, Patrick Pringle, talks about the school system. The school system he compared with the German books. So German books did not have the right and left. German books do not have the right and left. So right can also wear the left can also wear the right. So similarly, the present education system also does the same. It does not cater to the interest and aptitude of each and every individual or every child. Therefore, it is compared to the German book. But according to the writer, it need to cater the aptitude and interest of each and every student. Otherwise, the inner talent of the children is spoiled. Therefore, this one you can write the question number 2 and you can answer it in this manner. So, my dear children, I suppose you understood it well. and this discussion will be fruitful to you in order to understand the lesson well. With this, let me conclude. Hope to meet you very soon in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Have a very good day.